stop being a robot, be a human again. I would say productivity started with machines. Slowly we started introducing systems and processes with the Ford assembly line and other stuff where human beings were the part of the system, and that is where the problem started, that the machine productivity got aligned and loaded onto human beings, making them machines. And that is where you started experiencing that anxiety, that stress, that the race and other stuff. Yes, productivity is important, but not with the cost of a human life.
There is a lot of buzz about 70-hour work week, work-life balance, all of these jargons. What thought process do you have around work-life balance, being a productivity explorer, a coach in productivity?
You can just close your eyes and visualize a juggler. In one hand he has work, and in the other hand he has life, and he's juggling. What do you see goes in the mind of the person who is juggling it?
One or the other. Always.
One or the other, which means A, you're visualizing him with 100% focus, he's trying to balance. And balance nahi ho raha hai. Ek upar ja raha hai, ek niche aa raha hai. So number one, work-life balance is a myth, proven. You have a race, I don't mind, but have a race to achieve fulfillment faster by giving back to the society, having gratitude, realizing those small moments in life and connecting yourself with those moments.
And welcome to today's episode of Meet Momentum Masters. Today's guest is someone who's rose up from the slums of Mumbai like a phoenix bird. He scaled great heights in his corporate career, where he was last serving as the Vice President of Operations before he began his journey as a productivity explorer. He is a global speaker. He's the author of 3 best-selling books. He coaches organizations and individuals using his signature program on how to build a productive mindset. He's a LinkedIn top voice. He's a wise owl of productivity. He shares his insights on how to improve the productivity without any stress, burnout, or anxiety, and live a life of fulfillment. So it's time to welcome the founder of Zapro Consultants, Sagar Amlani. Welcome to the show, Sagar.
Thank you so much, Shweta. I'm sure that was a mouthful and I was enjoying the introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on the show today. So for our audience, take us behind your journey of how your professional career has been, and how did your journey of productivity explorer began?
It's a very interesting thing when people talk about productivity, because I always feel every single person has some ounce of productivity within themselves. They feel they're productive, someone else does not. So I say it's their perspective, because X priority will be mine. You might say, no, the priority should have been Y, which means, is that person non-productive? According to you, yes. According to me, no. So it depends absolutely as an interesting perspective where we define productivity as a standard medium. And how it all began, so as you rightly said, slums of Mumbai, actually when you don't have money, when you don't have time, and when you don't have multiple resources, you learn to manage all of them with more or the highest efficiency, resulting you start becoming more productive. Like I used to get 10 rupee from my mom to go onto the internet. It was 1995 era, and the schools started giving us projects that create a research file on Windows 95 and those ding-ding laptops, desktop I mean. And I used to get 10 rupee from my mom, go to the cyber cafe to do your research. Now the cyber cafe used to touch 10 rupees an hour. Productivity was 5 rupees my friend, 5 rupees I spend, we both sit together and finish the project, 5 rupees saved. So that's where you start saving money. Time wise, we used to get water only for 2 hours in the day, like limited time. Mom taught me how many buckets to be filled, what drums to be filled, so that it can be used throughout the day. Again, using those resources wisely. So that is how we all learned managing time, managing money, managing all other resources. And that's what productivity, that's what life teaches you. So I got to learn productivity from life, not from the books.
Okay, great. So wow, that's a great experience. So do you mean that despite lack of resources, where a lot of business owners I see, they will always complain about scarcity of resources, scarcity of finance, funds not available in the market XYZ. So where does scarcity work in correlation with this productivity? How is it linked to that? Is it a specific kind of mindset? Because I hear a lot of jargon terms: scarcity mindset, abundance mindset, so many things. So how is scarcity leading to productivity?
Let's say it very simple words. जहाँ चांद होगा वहाँ सूरज होगा, दिन होगा वहाँ रात होगी, scarcity होगी वहाँ abundance होगा. You decide if you want to see scarcity, you decide if you want to see abundance. Number one, let's say there's scarcity of light. Candle, मतलब light चली गई, power is not there in the house. You can crib, power नहीं है. Or just light a candle like my mother used to do and say, it's a candlelight dinner and the abundance is happiness, the joy. Because जो 5-star hotel में मिलता था, आज घर में मिल रहा है. Now choice is yours, what do you want to see? So if you saw from the beginning, all I'm trying to say is, it's what you see. It's what you feel. Right? Now, in organizations, they say scarcity. Let's ask all those organizations, when did you innovate? When did you improve? When did you see the growth? When did you see the highest potential of any of your worker or your process? It's only when you got problems. It's only when you got scarcity. It's only when you had the toughest situation. Did you grow when you had comfort zone? Absolutely not. And that answers the question that when you have scarcity, it is actually not the window but a door to abundance. So welcome it. Sadness hogi to hi khushi ka ehsas hoga. So I relate to that. And when you talk about scarcity, you will always be very, very miser in using whatever you have.
Right.
Now, when you want to use being miser, you will be productive because आप उसको waste ही नहीं करोगे, which means you will be very, very efficient, you will be very, very effective. So that's how I relate productivity to that.
Okay.
Now, if I have a lot of time, I'll waste it. But I know that the deadline is tomorrow. What will I do? I get focused into the work. Let's get on the work and it'll be done.
So apart from being on the deadlines, when we are always having too many, things on a plate, as an entrepreneur, as a corporate executive, you're always faced in that situation. How do you come out from that busyness trap, and how do you ensure that, you are able to, get results? What kind of results are desired, given so much which you already have on your plate?
पहले तो प्लेट ही खाली कर दो. Use 80-20 principle, Pareto, or use the Eisenhower matrix, urgent and important. Most of the time, we put too many things on the plate is because we want to do that, we want to do this, we want to do this. Boss, you have a bandwidth of 24 hours, out of which 8 hours you invest in sleeping. 16 hours, in that 16 hours, you have 4 hours to do your things, which means you only have 10 hours. In that, psychologically, you can only focus for 4 hours. So why are you filling your plate where you work for 8 hours? It's burnout. Do your things in 4 hours. Use tools to automate, use creativity, and use other ways to delegate the work better so that you expand your time by delegating it to multiple people and reduce things on your plate and focus on one thing. What will happen is, let's say there's a plant here. You keep watering it. There's a flower, you see it, you move on. You're not feeling that joy. Let's say if you're mindful, again, a buzzword, but if you're mindful every day of watching that plant, you're watering it. There's a small bud coming in, then there's a small flower that's blooming in. You enjoy that for like few seconds, you will start connecting and feeling that happiness. What we do now, we did one task, okay, this is done, move on to another, move on to another, move on to another. At the end, we feel, oh, I've done 6. No, we feel, I've left 2. Choice is yours, you've done 4, congratulations. Celebrate it, enjoy it, experience it. Why are you whining? मेरे से 2 छूट गए. So number one, don't fill your plate too much. Similarly, like food, if you fill your plate too much, you're going to overstuff yourself. Similarly, if you fill your plate too much with works, thinking you will fit everything just because you want to do it, you will feel burnout.
Okay, great.
Make a wise decision. Plate को थोड़ा खाली कर दो.
So do you really feel that, with so many HR activities going on in an organization, business owners do really do not celebrate the smaller milestones? Does it really happen? What is your experience of the people you coach, or leaders you coach?
Brilliant question. Is it only tick in the box to celebrate or you celebrate?
Okay.
There are 2 ways, right?
Right.
There's a birthday. You got a cake. As an HR, you invited everyone. Cut the cake, done, go on.
Right.
Did even anyone invite that person to share what he felt? What do you feel? Did you connect with him? Nothing happens. Things happen as tick in the box. I don't call that a celebration.
Okay. So what is your definition?
Celebration is to actually connect with emotions to the other person. And that's productive mindset. Efficiency multiplied by effectiveness is productivity.
Right.
When you bring a human being into that, the machine part, which is productivity, gets connected to a productive mindset. And mindset is full of emotions. So when you have efficiency, multiply it with effectiveness, you're productive. Add emotions to it, you become a productive mindset. And then you don't need to celebrate every birthday. You don't need to celebrate big things. Even if someone has done a good thing, write something for them personally, give it to them, or go onto their desk and appreciate in a genuine way where you actually mean it, and not just, hey, you did a very good stuff and we got that project done. Doesn't make sense again. Tell him what exactly, or her exactly, what they contributed. What difference did they make in that whole journey? That is, for me, is celebration. Now in companies where I've been there, on multiple companies, they celebrate, they do trainings, tick in the box. They do training effectiveness, tick in the box. I'm not saying all, but yes, most of them is just to have that tick in the box.
Right.
I don't call it
So
as
it's mostly a compliance to me, to make
Exactly.
sure, or tell your boss, this is being done, this is being done.
तो उसको हम celebration नहीं बोल सकते, ना हम उसको कुछ बोल सकते हैं. उसको मैं बोलता हूँ that you're busy. You're not productive, you're busy. You're doing 100 things. Audit, you're bang on. Documents, you're bang on. Celebration, you're bang on. Engagement, you're bang on. Only on paper.
Right.
You ask that employee about that engagement, they will feel disconnected because they're like, हाँ ठीक है यार, और एक बर्थडे है, और एक केक काटना है, खाना है, आना है, वापस काम पे लग जाना है. They're not connected at all.
Right.
And connections happen with emotions.
So you talked about recognition, right? Recognition, you can recognize your employees, you can have that emotion bit, you can have the mindfulness of celebrating. But as entrepreneurs, we often feel that you don't have anybody to pat on your back. Whatever good you have done, whatever project-related success or milestone you have achieved, how do you celebrate that? Nobody else is coming from you, from behind. For your employees, you are there. For you, how are you going to celebrate?
Again, a very interesting question. So I'll go back to my days, how I did it. So I worked as a bartender. I worked as a waiter. What I used to do, being from a family where you're not regularly serving or regularly doing a waiter's job, but I started it. So initially I used to hesitate. Then I started enjoying it, and sometimes I used to get a tip of 10 pounds, right? Now that's a celebration for me. So ab kare kya? Like you, let's say I was an entrepreneur as a waiter for myself. I was an entrepreneur. I got that 10 pound. I've done a wonderful job. The customer has told me that you've done a wonderful job, and they've given me the money, but there's no appreciation there apart from the money part.
Right.
I go out after the shift. I go straight to the Starbucks, because at that time Starbucks was non-affordable. So
aspirational.
वो भी नहीं था actually. It was like, ये है, and you go there. But yeah, you can put it as aspirational, that it was kind of something that I would seek out to. I used to go there, order I still remember the order is caramel cream frappuccino with cream on top. Go, order it, sip it for like good half an hour, 45 minutes, and enjoy with myself. Why do you need someone else to tell you that you've done a good job? Enjoy with yourself. Start giving yourself that importance. Why do we seek validation outside? The minute we start seeking validation outside, we are insecure inside. That someone else needs to tell me, good job. I know I've done it with good intentions. I know I've done a good job. Celebrate it with yourself. I used to buy myself hoodies in those lily whites. I still believe in the Piccadilly Circus area, where I used to get for £5, £7.5. I used to buy them for myself initially.
Wow.
And that was my party and my way to celebrate. So gift yourself. So let's say, you love something, go down, shop for yourself, come back. But that should not become an habit that shopping gives you that kick. No, it could be sometimes that I also have given money or given something else to others. For example, recently when I came to Hyderabad after the stint in London, I used to take packets of Parle-G. The day I did something good, I got a good project. 5 rupees Parle-G, open it up, call all the kids, prepare the tea, make them eat, drink with you while you're sitting there. And that gives you a joy as if you've done it for them. And then it makes you far, far, far different than your own ego, because when you're doing it for them, you go humble, that you see that they're not getting that much. You start feeling gratitude about what you're getting. You get grounded and you'll celebrate, because the happiness that you see on their face, you cannot buy with anything else. It's the love. So celebrate in different ways. Keep changing your ways to celebrate.
Yeah. So one got to celebrate with yourself, your own self, in what you do, because we don't do what we love, that gets ignored a lot. And then spend time with people, for whom little things can also matter. So it
छोटी
can
छोटी
be.
चीजों में बहुत खुशियां मिलती हैं, हम जाते हैं बड़ी खुशियों को ढूंढने.
So coming from a background of operations where everything is about, optimizing this process, tweaking XYZ to achieve that certain level of efficiency, how can one actually achieve this kind of state which you are saying? How practical is this? What kind of practical frameworks do you have to, for the organizations or leaders to adapt into this kind of mindset?
Very simple thing. Have empathy with accountability.
Okay.
You be empathetic if there's a problem, if there's something up and down. At the same time, you don't make that person unaccountable.
Okay. Give us an example.
For example, so I'll take an example from my own life, where I had a junior who called in that something happened in his house, where someone was very, very unwell. He had to go to the hospital, sit there and take care of them. He was not able to make to the office. Now I had few things which were under his thing, and they had deadlines. I said, absolutely no problem. Do one thing. At least tell someone who is under you or at the same level, delegate the tasks, send a detailed email with all the pointers of what are the things to be done, what are the purchase orders that are pending, what are the communications that you have done, what are the pending communications, or send a voice note to all of us, mark a copy to me, and then talk to your team members and get the things done while you're sitting there in the hospital, because that will take you half an hour in the day to get it sorted. I'm empathetic that yes, you take your leave. I'm also accountable that let's get the job done, because after 5 days when you come back, we would welcome you with the same zeal. Right. But the customer might not wait for 5 days because he's got his own deadlines. Right. So be empathetic and be accountable. So in operations, everything is just in time. Everything is, interrelated.
Yeah. Especially in automobile sectors where you have a great experience.
Absolutely. So there's always a second in command. There's always a second line. There's nobody in operations or in an organizations who would work individually. And to all the MSMEs out there, all the listeners out there, if you are actually having only one purchase guy, if you're only having one person each, that's where you have a red flag. Now the question comes, we can't recruit so many people like big guns. Don't do that. Exchange the roles, interchange the roles, have them do multitasking, at least educate them on each other's role, so at least they can fill in for that week, that days, that few moments.
Interesting.
So it becomes a multitasking person, not multitasking at the same time, but multitasking with understanding.
Substituting the other person when the other is
so
not
it's
available.
Multi-skilled person, or an accountant who can also raise a purchase order, or an accountant who can also prepare the production plan based on the data and the SOPs that you have. So SOPs is one framework that create a standard operating procedure. B, have multi-skill workforce at all the levels. So you're not dependent on one single person where he takes a leave, or you get blackmailed that I'm going to leave if you don't increase my salary, and so on and so forth. When you have multi-skills, you have a variation. So it's very simple. Start with empathy and accountability. And to set accountability, set processes and systems in place which will make people accountable and have ownership.
Okay, that sounds great. So that means that definitely, you're giving very, very practical advices on how MSMEs can actually have people who can fill up the roles. That's more practical way as compared to, like you said, that having multiple people for those roles. For large organizations, that's more practical.
They can afford it, yeah.
So your advice will definitely be very, very customized and boutique to the nature of organization who you are coaching. Give us an example of how a breakthrough has been achieved in an organization who you have coached through, and where the leader related productivity has impacted the momentum of growth of the organization.
I won't take the name again because of the contracts and the confidentiality. The answer is very, very simple in the way things were working. So I'll give you examples and you will understand. Every single thing had to be approved by the boss. Standard problem with most of the organizations. पानी की बॉटल कौन सी आएगी, खाना कहाँ से आएगा, टिश्यू पेपर कौन सा होगा. Everything is controlled by one or two. Now, all I will ask them is evaluate your turnover, divide it by the number of days you're working, and divide it by the number of hours you're working. That is the value of your per hour cost. Is that value worth to decide the tissue paper cost? Is that value worth to decide which water bottle would come? The answer is no. That's what leaders need to calculate. What are they worth per hour? For example, if a leader comes out and says that my per hour cost is 15,000 rupees, will he be able to make that decision again?
Yeah.
So that's my
He
first.
will not do that, definitely.
So that's my first conversation when I start in the first few weeks. This is where I bring awareness to that person that what are you worth? Now he will say, no, Sagar, I'm very specific. I need 1, 2. Brilliant. If you're specific, create an SOP that ye hoga, this is what is needed. If this is the case, this is needed. If this is the thing, this is needed. This will be this specification, this specification, this specification. Give them options. What happens? You have given your mind thoughts, your ideas onto a paper and given it to a team, and you've delegated it gracefully.
Yeah.
All after that you have to do is just a review. Review takes a minute.
Right.
Liya ki nahi? You don't have to get into
Makes
negotiations
sense.
and do all that. So
Makes
that's
sense.
one. So when I start coaching them, the first thing I do is decentralization. I start making them free of either automated task, repetitive task, or tasks which are not fitting within their value of their time.
Okay.
Once that is out, 30% of their time gets free. That 30% I start coaching them and I start working with them to standardize their processes within the organizations for operations, for logistics, for purchase, for other stuff.
Okay.
Once they do that, 80% of the time they are free. What do they do in that time? Create more strategies, create more collaborations, do more networking, and start going out of your business and start looking how you can either backward integrate or forward integrate or kind of increase your horizontal, product portfolio.
Or maybe geographical expansion, whatever is
Anything.
required to expand the business.
Once they are out is when they can start thinking, and then I create a dashboards for them, then I create a workaround for them where they cannot, lose insights. So either a weekly or a monthly review check, and again, what reviews, at what intervals, how do you review, why would you review this, and that is also trained to the people down the line. So it's a cascading effect, starts with the top going to the bottom. So when the boss gets free and he gives out decisions and authority to the level 2, the level 2 decision making gets faster because he does not have to wait for the boss to come and sign for the bottles, for the food, which means you have increased the productivity of level 2 also.
Right.
When level 2 gives the decisions faster, level 3 and level 4 can execute it faster.
Yeah.
So are you seeing the cascading effect that comes from the top? So when the chain is stopping here for decision making, execution also gets impacted. But when you start decentralizing it, execution happens faster. Now few of the MSMEs had that apprehension that Sagar, people will start stealing, people will start siphoning money, there will be some kind of ups and downs that go on. Fair enough. Which business does not have that?
Yeah.
Do you want to save that 5, 10, 50 rupees? Or you want to mint 50,000, 10,000, 10 million, go up? So rather than going on a penny thing and
Those kind of
saving
leaks
that,
are
acceptable. And to also control those leaks, you have systems in place, you have checks and balances in place, but still the leaks will happen. But you invest your time in earning so much that these leaks don't really matter, don't really bother. Right? So all I'm trying to say is that things will happen. Be practical, that you cannot say, oh, my organization, there's absolutely no leakage. Sorry, not acceptable. Can you reduce those? Yes. Can you minimize those? Yes. Can you control those? Yes. So rather than investing your time here, invest your time to earn more.
That actually calls for a very drastic mindset shift, because generally, like they say, old habits die hard. It's very difficult for family owned business owners or family owned enterprises to have this kind of mindset shift in terms of how do you delegate work so nicely, and you optimize the time where you are spending your own personal time as a owner. So, what kind of frameworks have you developed which you use to help these kind of organization, be it corporates or it family-owned businesses?
So when you call it as a framework, it's more of a tailor-made approach.
Yeah.
Using a simple methodology is dive.
Okay.
Dive starts with D. You diagnose where the blocks are, where the roadblocks are, or where the limiting beliefs are, where the issues are actually.
Right.
Once you've diagnosed it, then start with the I part, which is implementation.
Right.
Because most of the consultant role or most of the coaching role, begins with finding the awareness.
Yeah.
And that's when you get deep dive into implementation. So there are certain organizations who go only into the consulting part, which they will help you diagnose and they'll give it to you that this is what the problems are, and from there they are out.
Right.
Now, me being into the operations for almost 11 years and plus 4 more years, so overall 15 years, I kind of invested that I will go deep dive, and the I part tells me what to invest and what to implement. So I is kind of an implementation of whatever I've diagnosed, and we start implementing different structures, systems, processes, standardizations, dashboard, other things in place depending upon the need.
Right.
Once that is done, which is a longer duration thing, comes validation. Now, validation does not happen with me, because if I've created the system and if I'm going to validate it, makes no sense. It's like you've given the paper and you're checking yourself. I kind of call third party auditors to validate it.
Okay.
Or we validate it based on the balance sheets, or we validate it based on the data points that we have got. So the validation happens through numbers, through the data, through the dashboards that we have created, and the output that is generated, and the impact on the financial balance sheet. Once that is done, if there is a check to be done, or kind of fine tuning to be done to still streamline it, that done. After that comes empowerment, which is the part E. In that empowerment, we as a team will teach all the managers, all the frontline people of what we did till now, what did we cover, what have we created, and how they can sustain it for a longer time.
Okay.
So it's not that we've come, we've done it, and once we go, the system goes back to zero. No, we empower them, we train them, we give them every single thing of what they have to check, what they have to review at what times, how are the SOPs done, and how is the process done. So the dive is the methodology that I use. Frameworks, depending upon what their needs are being aligned.
So essentially, these are the people who can actually get coaching from you. They get the hand holding in terms of
Yes.
implementation as well. Apart from the people who are basically engaged, who you are coaching, you have definitely authored a number of books also. So those can actually become as handy tools for people who are seeking to learn more on how
Absolutely.
they can implement better, or for example learn more about the methodologies which you are kind of helping other businesses with. So can you tell us more about what kind of books you have authored, and who are they for?
So my first book actually started with my own journey, and I've titled it at the Crossroads of Life.
Okay.
Why at the crossroads is because when you're actually at the crossroads, you are taking a decision for yourself. People will advise you, people will come and give you suggestions, people will come and tell you that they are with you for the decision that you make, but the decision has to be made by you. The call has to be taken by you. You have to take the step forward. It's only then when people will come and support you, but nobody will say, okay, you take that decision, because the minute if somebody is saying that you take that call, you take that direction, you are absolutely dependent on every single nook and corner when you're on that journey, is because you will keep looking back for directions. You'll keep looking back for directions.
Yeah.
So at the crossroads of life, you take a decision which impacts not only you, but everything around you and your family as well.
Okay.
And that was my first book, which gives my journey from slums of Mumbai to getting damaged, or the house getting flooded on 26 July 2005. From there on, how did I manage myself to go to London without having too much of money at hand, or money at disposal. Thereon, started working multiple odd jobs, getting into a factory, working there as a loader, and from loader to a project manager, from project manager to helping the assistant director, and from there to a vice president. So that journey is covered in At the Crossroads of Life. It also has one amazing chapter where I talk about you fall in love or you rise in love. The choice is yours.
Okay.
So I had a thing where I was in love with someone. It went on for 2 years. Then the parents said we can't do it because of certain issues and certain religious and cultural thing. All I did was it's okay, and I backed out and I stopped at. It's not that you have to fight for it. Now some people said, oh, you have to fight for it, you have to go for it. It's okay. If it's going to be happening, if it's destined, it will happen. Fighting for it and making it happen. And if it's not in destiny, it'll go back. So rather you give it a push, you go and convince, you talk, and you find a solution. If nothing works, then leave it to nature, is what I always believe, and go with the flow.
Okay.
Right? So moved on from there, happy with the current life that I have with an amazing wife and 2 kids, and the other person also is enjoying the same way. And now I feel that whatever happened, happened for good.
Okay.
So that book is all about making those decisions, making those moments, and showing people that it's not always what you see in movies. It's not always the same that you see in life, that this is the only way. There's always a different way.
Yeah.
There's always a different approach. Are you willing to take that step?
Right.
Or are you still with the herd mentality? Oh, this is not to be done, and if you do this, this is the tag that you get. Fine, who cares? I don't mind with that tag. I know my life. I choose that path and I'll stick with it.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second is the key.
Okay.
And the key actually opens the door to build a productive mindset. So it's 26 elements of how you can build a productive mindset in your daily routine, which is each chapter is each alphabet, A to Z. So pick up the book, flick a random page, read that chapter, which is 3 to 6 minutes read, and keep it. You don't need to read. No. So I've given that book to multiple readers who are non-readers. They're like, Sagar bhai, I don't read books at all. I was like, it's okay. Try to read 1 chapter a day, 3 minutes. Can you commit to that? And he's like, yeah, I do that. He meets me after 2 days and he said, I've completed 14 chapters. It's so easy to read.
Nice.
Because the book is very simple. It's written by an engineer, so it's all points. So the book talks about very simple thing. What is that concept? Why do you need it? And how you can improve it.
Okay.
No masalas, nothing. It's straight to the point. 1, 2, 3. And to read that, people love it because it's only 3-minute read. And the third book is Power of Aim. That talks about the journey of fulfillment.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about aim, we talk about goals, aspirations, dreams, desire, materialistic success. It still feels empty when you're successful because you've only been running for yourself, for your watch, for your car, for your house, for your things, and it never ends. Success converts into fulfillment when you connect yourself with your core values, your family values, your cultural values, your needs, and then you set goals. So AIM stands for people who want to achieve fulfillment in life and eternal happiness.
Oh, that's a lot of wisdom, man. You're sounding like somebody in your 60s plus. How can you go so deep in terms of talking of success versus fulfillment at such a young age where everybody's talking about material success? Everybody's naturally has those wants and desires, right? Everybody has those bucket list to accomplish. So how did this realization come to you that, fulfillment is something which is on a bigger level, which somebody should look for rather than the material success which everybody looks after?
That came through my conversations with people who are at 65,
Okay.
who were at 70, because I was coaching them as a business coach to get them some free time, because most of them had common issues. I have not spent time with my family. I have not given time to my wife. I have not taken care of my health. I have not done this for myself. Who stopped you?
Yeah.
They're like, no, I wanted this. I said, who asked you?
तो एक खोखला life है ना एक तरीके
Exactly.
से.
So I say, you become successful and it feels empty.
Yeah.
So at 40 itself, I realized कि हाँ, या तो emptiness के पीछे भागो, which is success, या तो fulfillment के पीछे भागो. And since then, I've invested in an orphanage where we have 20 boys and 20 girls. And that gives me super cool happiness, because when I see them smile, we go and read them stories, we go and play with them, we go and serve food to them, we sit and eat with them. It's not just doing and tick in the box. but we sit and eat with them, we dance with them, we play with them, and I do it with my kids.
Okay.
And I think my first 5 birthdays of my kids, we celebrated at the orphanage.
That's in which place?
It was in Hyderabad because I've recently shifted to Vadodara. So in 10 years while I was in Hyderabad, we used to do that.
Okay.
I think since I was 21, for last more than 18 years, I've been donating blood on my birthday. Now that gives me happiness. So people say, what are you doing on your birthday? Well, I'm donating my blood. There's not party that is required. Okay, I do that. It's not that I don't do that. But the priorities are you do this, which gives you super happiness. And then you also do the party, you do also do the fun thing. So it's not that I'm boring. I have fun, but I will have fun with friends, but before that, I will fill my soul. So if I fulfill my soul, if I have my soul and spirit at high, then all this is just a bonus.
Okay, that sounds great. So, what tips do you have for living a fulfilling life?
As I said, start giving back to the society in whatever you can. You don't have to wait to be a Tata or a Birla or an Ambani. I said 5 rupee biscuit. Try that. Okay, let's say all the business owners, all the influencers, all the listeners, or even all the students who are listening. 5 रुपए तो जेब में होंगे ना. Take 2 packets. Don't just give them. Find someone, open them, either give them a milk or a tea or anything. Sit with them, talk to them while they are eating. Have that conversation. क्या करते हो, कैसे रहते हो, क्या problems है. You're not going to solve them. Just listen to them. And you'll feel that gush of adrenaline which you will not get from your reels or from your social media or from anywhere else. Or go to an orphanage and just read stories to the kid or read poetries to those kids or just play with them. When they come and touch and feel, they just want to touch you, that hug. I have seen the toughest cookie. Like he was an entrepreneur who had a paper bag manufacturing industry, and he was like, no, I do that regularly, aisa vaisa and everything. I said, sir, this time you don't do anything. You just come with me for your birthday.
Okay.
He's like, done. I only took 5 stars with me and some good food, and we went to an orphanage. And I said, ये उनको दे दो और उनके साथ बैठ के खाओ और आपका birthday आप कैसे celebrate करते हो वो उनको बताना. And he's like, yeah, वो तो बहुत simple है. I said, बता देना. That man cried when sitting with the children. And he said, I never felt so much love in my life. He cried on spot. That's the power of giving back. And that's the power of living fulfilled life. आप लो ना, आप अरमानी के bags लो, गुच्ची के bags लो, you buy a Mercedes, you do whatever you want. That's okay. I'm not saying no for that. थोड़ा सा part इसमें से ये कर दो. You celebrate your birthday with more than 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees or even 10 lakh rupees. मैं बोल रहा हूँ 10 रुपया खाली यहाँ डालो ना, कर सकते हो, कर लो, experience it. So don't believe on me. Do it and then tell me.
So I think this is where you out of your personal interaction you have kind of realized that there is a huge gap between what we feel is a success, that constant pursuit for success which we have, versus what actually brings you fulfillment. But this is very anti-productivity kind of a thing, right? Because the productivity people will always be like maximizing the return on the investment, maximizing the ROI with productivity. What kind of feedback do you have when you tell people that you talk about you are a productivity explorer, you help organizations with leveraging the maximum time, maximum amount of ROI of their time, versus talking about fulfillment? Does that sound like very practical, or how do people treat you when you go up with this?
Let's talk numbers.
ठीक है,
Right?
Yeah.
Numbers की बात करते हैं
Sure.
तो numbers ही बताता हूँ.
ठीक है.
I was coaching a operations manager of a public limited company, or rather a PSU, and they had a breakdown. Right? So when breakdown happens, things are very tight on the schedule, is because every day is lakhs of rupees when the operations are such high. When I was coaching him, I was talking about emotions, getting connected to the team. And he was exactly like, I don't have this time, I don't have that time, I want to get this done, I said, fair enough, just approach this. And the first thing I tell is, stop judging people. When you tell them something, don't judge that they're not going to do it. Okay. Don't judge that they're like that. Don't judge that they're giving you reasons. Identify what is the bottleneck and try to be someone who will solve that bottleneck. And that is where you connect with empathy and compassion. He did that in a meeting, and asked people, and people said, sir, this will be done in 7 days, this will be done in 9 days, and this is connected to this, and this is how it will happen. So in 21 days, we will finish the
Entire operation breakdown.
entire breakdown. It's like, not possible. We have only 14 days for that because I have orders to fulfill.
Okay.
Tell me what are the bottlenecks you have. And people listed as usual, right? So he said, brilliant, let's work on how we can resolve the bottlenecks, how we can help each other, and what we can do. So take 2 hours of break time and come back later. That changed the perspective of the whole team, because someone who shouts, someone who bulldozes, someone who is authoritative is now telling, you guys take 2 hours and come back to me. And the team was like, man, we have to do something.
You're giving them the thinking cap.
You have given them the trust. And that's like the killer thing, right? You've given them the trust that you come back and I'll wait for you. In that 2 hours, he also thought for the strategy. Those guys come back with a proposal, with a plan that they will, kind of delegate the teams in such a way and work in such coordination. But they also wanted 6 extra manpower. But the work will get completed in 9 days.
Okay. Wow. Great.
And
9 days, from 21 to 9. Transformation.
Yes, and they actually did it in 10 days. They did not complete in 9 days, but they did it in 10 days. But still they saved 4 days, which the target line was, and they actually saved the other 7 days. This is the power of working with emotions. And I'll tell you a very simple example, because these are big examples. People will laugh it out and people will say, I don't believe it, right? So it has happened with me, and someone wants to talk to that person, connect with me one-to-one. I'll get you connected to that operations manager, but not on the open forum. But however, let me give you a very simple example. Most of us are connected with our mothers very much, because most of the time we are delegating or, working or coordinating with mummy. Yeah. And, when mummy tells, I trust my baby and aap aisa nahi karoge na, when you are actually doing wrong, does the conscience bite you? When we are young, the mom has built that trust, it bites us.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple example that if you can experience that at that age, start giving that trust to your team at the age when they are mature, they are already wiser, you will buy them for life. It's very, very difficult to do.
Right. It is.
I'm not saying it's very easy to do, but with coaching, with right mentoring, with right guidance, it works. And I've just given you one example. I've got 3,500 examples, and I've got video testimonials of people doing that. So if anyone has a doubt, any doubt, I can show you a video testimonial of a 8,500 conglomerate, turnover conglomerate, speaks volume. And I also have a testimonial from someone who has got a 25 crore turnover. So the horizon is vast, and it is applying everywhere.
Wow.
Someone who is at this level and someone who is at the higher level.
Wow.
So I'm sure the numbers now validate that connecting emotions, productivity does improve. I'm not saying that you only focus on the soft part of the life. You focus 80% here, 20% feed your soul. Because when you do that, it will improve your productivity by 200%. आपका जो burnout है, वो यहाँ पे stress buster का काम करेगा. So which means rather than investing time in going holidays or expensive holidays, expensive shopping just to reduce your stress, यहाँ पे कर लो ना, किसी का फायदा भी होगा, stress भी कम हो गया, and your productivity still improves. You save money, you save time, and you still are more productive.
Wow. Now I understand your term wise idiot. Why do you call such people wise idiots? So essentially, they are talking about productivity, they're talking about fulfillment at the same time. So it is actually very, very practical and achievable. Great. So what kind of, productivity roadblocks have you come across when you interact with business owners or corporate executives? What kind of roadblocks do they actually face? There is distraction, there is digital technology being one of them. I'm sure there are a number of other roadblocks which you would have heard. What kind of roadblocks you would have encountered, and what is your experience?
So I've divided them into, champions, like productivity champions, and productivity blockers.
Okay.
Number one, as you rightly said, distraction, but I would say the number one is a controller who loves to control everything. Okay. When you are loving to control everything, you're blocking your time to control everything. You're blocking yourself to take every decision. You're actually reducing productivity of your whole organization because you want to control every single thing. If you have 8 hours, you're only taking certain decisions. But the minute you start delegating, you're increasing your duration. So number one is a controller person. Second one is procrastinator, who keeps on delaying the task. The next is skeptic. You know, they're always skeptic, they're always negative about anything that they see around.
Yeah.
Those people cannot have productivity at all. They will be either skeptic for the people or for the persons around them or for the processes or for the client or for the situation. Then the next comes is perfectionist. जब तक ये perfect नहीं होता ना, हम इसको, we will not launch it, we will not do it, we will not delay. Why? What is perfect? What is perfection? You might think this is perfect for me.
It's a subjective thing.
But the client might feel, I did not want this, I wanted this. Then what's your perfection doing there?
Yeah.
It's subjective. So when it's something which are very subjective, why do you invest your time? So these are like a few blockers that I identify, and the last but not the least is people don't know how to say no. So learn to say no is something which is a very powerful thing, and I actually invest a lot of time with so many leaders teaching them how to say no.
Okay. Tell us an example.
Very simple thing, like you have a party or an event plan. Let's say you have a family gathering plan, and at the same time the client calls that let's have a meeting. What do? Most of us say, we'll tell the family that please understand, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing it for the family. The client is calling me, I've been chasing him for last 6 years or 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is, and I have to go and meet him. I'll come back in few minutes. The family will say yes. You go and you meet and you do that. Instead, try it in a different way. Tell the client, hey, I've planned this with my family for over 3 months now. The whole family is gathered and we are just having a good time. Is it absolutely urgent? Then I will definitely come. Can we hold it for a day and postpone it with a day or 2 days? Or can we do it over a call so that I can save my traveling time? Find out options. Have critical thinking. And when you do that, you sort it, right? And that's the easiest example where people say that, choose this or this. No, it can be done both ways. We don't ask. We kind of have that fear. Ki पूछेंगे तो what will the client think? And this is one example. ऐसे बहुत सारे situations होते हैं life में where we try to, say this and this. Not needed.
So when you say learn to say no, you will essentially have to let go of one thing versus other, right?
Not letting go. I've just postponed it. I said, I'm not able to meet you today.
Right.
However, can we do it tomorrow? I'm not saying no. Let's say as a speaker.
Yeah.
So I get multiple opportunities from schools and colleges and other associations where they call me, and there are date clashes.
Right.
So what I would do I would say A, that there are other speakers who are equally good like me. Number one. Number two, number three, you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Give them an option. Or you tell them, however, I'm not free on this event, but if you're flexible, I'm available on these dates. Can we rearrange? Can we reshuffle? Yeah. So A, you're not saying no. You're giving them an option. You're not being rude. You're not being, arrogant and other stuff, and you do it. The third example where I would definitely put myself and say no, where some things which are not aligned with my ethics or with my core values. Right. Let's say I don't want to go to a party where I know people smoke. The room is going to be there, it's a closed room and people are going to smoke hookah, cigarette or whatever it is. I don't like smoking because no matter how much close of a friend I have there, but if I'm sitting in that room, I'm doing passive smoking and I don't like it. I will say no for that party. Plain and simple. There is a deal where I might have to bribe someone or where I might have to do something unethical which is not aligning with my ethics. I'll let that client go. I'll let that deal go. Because rather than accepting it, earning money and living in guilt, it's better to say no. Because that's when you talk about abundance, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you have abundance, you don't need to go away with your core values and ethics.
Right.
So, learn to say no is not a straight no.
Yeah.
A, you find options if you really want to do it. B, you give alternatives and see if it's not aligning with your core values. Yes, you have to say no. But sometimes we say yes and then we say, and like, I'm not getting bored, I'm not involved. I don't like anyone, I don't know anyone, it's smoking. You're so uncomfortable inside, but you say yes. And you're like, someone comes in, hey, you enjoying the party? Yeah, cool, man, I'm enjoying. Why?
Yeah.
Why fake it?
Yeah.
Because that never gives you happiness.
Yeah. That's very true.
So learn to say no is not a straight no, but it's based on situation,
Right.
based on perspectives, based on people around you, based on what is it impacting, either core values, ethics, or it's just work, things will work around.
What is the next book you're working on?
So the next book is divided into two things that I'm working on. Number one, I'm working on a concept called successful failures.
Okay.
Uh, we've heard multiple people that learn fast, fail fast. We've also heard theory about it's okay to fail. It's about how you rise and how soon you rise, or how soon you wake up, or get going and hustling. But I'm saying for MSMEs and for small business owners, I would say it's about successfully failing.
Okay.
Because people fail and declare bankruptcy. People fail and say, I'm not having any money. People can fail and say, sorry, my intentions are good, but I'm helpless. Well, I'm saying that yes, you failed, it's fine. You start something new, I'm happy. But are you in presence of the people who are suffering because of you, people who have supported you when you were doing a business and you failed, and you owe them something, maybe money, maybe some services, maybe something else, maybe certain orders, maybe any kind of goods that you've promised? Are you gracefully passing them on to any of your competitor? Are you giving them the right support so that their line, their business, their livelihood does not get impact because of your failure? The people that are working with you, are you aware and mindful of at least recruiting them or getting them to some other companies, recommending them, and ensuring that their life is not disturbed just because you're failing? Or are you selfish enough and saying, I'm failing, I'm suffering, nobody cares about me, why do I care about others? So are you being selfish? And I've seen so many MSME owners and small business owners, not to name everyone, but few of them, if they fail, they feel the whole world should stand with them, but they are not bound to stand with anybody. Just because they are failing, they feel everybody should support them. Now just think of it that you're failing, you failed, or let's say you've gone bankrupt, or you have certain problems. If you have certain orders, imagine you calling your client and telling them advance that, hey, I don't see a good future for my company, so maybe in another 1 week or so I may be shutting down my operations. However, I'm willing to help you to set up a next vendor or a competitor that I have, work with them, give you the formulation, and ensure that your line doesn't stop or your production does not stop, and I'll help you to streamline it. That's one. Of course, I'll charge it with a little fee because I have to sustain myself. Next, you can talk to your workers and tell them that this is what we have in the next 15 days. I'll give you all the experience letters. Whatever you need, let's do that so that you can do that. And that way, you gracefully exit. The people who are with you, even after your failure, will still work silently and ensure that whenever you have an opportunity to grow back, they will stand strong with you in whatever way they can. So that's a theory that I'm working on, which is called successful failures. Okay. Where you find ways to give back to the society, give back to the people. So it's like a candle. It will fail, but it will emit light till the last minute. So are you being a candle? Are you giving light to everyone till the last minute? So because when next time, when the wax can be reused, there will be people who will be investing in that wick, and you'll be again a shining candle. So that's the simplest theory that I'm working on. And the second one is I'm trying to write a sequel or kind of a follow-up book for my second one, which is Build the Productive Mindset. Okay. Where I'm listing out the kind of champions that I told and the blockers of productivity, with a worksheet, with an assessment, and how people can actually learn from that and grow and leverage. And the book can act as a coach for them. Okay. Rather than coming to me, because I cannot reach to everyone. Yeah. But the book can. So that will become as a coach where people can read, understand, and explore it by themselves, and build a productive mindset, and the world can experience fulfillment all around.
Wow, that's great. So you're talking about successful failures. Will that be also having examples of such people, or it's around that again a framework on how people can actually gracefully exit when they are in such stage of business?
It would be a combination of both, where I would say I'll be talking to people who have failed that I know. I know people who have failed and built a new business after a certain time. I know people who have failed and actually helped their employees, their vendors, their clients and aligned in such a way that after 4-5 years when they were restarting, it was very easy for them to restart, and people supported them. So kind of a story aligned and combined with the framework that they approached. So it'll be a combination of both. It's still it's still in the
It's in process.
process stage, I would say, or rather in thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's soon going to materialize for the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So not everybody is lucky with the kind of experiences you have had so far. So essentially, what do you attribute for your success? Is it a big dream? Was there some other extrinsic motivation that that kind of compelled you to rise like a phoenix, like we said?
The only motivation was internal, or the only thing I had for the first 10 years after the floods was to give a better house to my mom and dad.
Okay.
Because I've seen mom cooking with an umbrella in her hand, maggots falling, water falling, and she's still cooking, and she's still sustaining a smile on her face. Father, having multiple issues in business and still sustaining himself with integrity, not going on any, ways or, kind of shortcuts in life, not having any vices for that matter. He doesn't even have tobacco, no cigarette, no, no non-veg. And that kind of made me look up to them as very high in values, very high in ethics. And I wanted to give them a better life. Now, when I say I'm just a medium. It's the nature, it's the power that helps me to deliver that. So
Right.
I'm just a medium to deliver something to them. So that was the initial phase. So when I was working, I still remember working as a cigarette butt picker in one of the competition, a dart competition. And just imagine there's a world dart competition, 200, 300 people in the hall,
Okay.
flush red carpet. And because it was, I still remember the date, it was 6th December, 2008. Yeah, 2008.
Okay.
And people flock in, people smoke because it's December, and I'm talking back in UK. 11 of us had a job with all the equipments in hand to rush and pick up the cigarette butt. As soon as it's thrown, the carpet should not burn. It actually felt like a rat, and it was so demeaning for your self-respect, and for that ego, is like you actually feel like a hamster, or it's like a rat, literally like a rat. 4 घंटे का session हो गया, and there was a break of 1 hour. All I did was I went into the bathroom and I cried. What am I doing? It broke me down so much, as if I was not feeling proud of myself. I lost all self-esteem. I lost everything. That what am I doing for money? I mean, is this the level where it's not about dignity of labor? Well, some might say that, hey, you should have dignity of labor and all that. I'm not saying no for that job.
But you have a self-esteem, right?
I was not prepared for it.
Yeah. You feel that you meant for something else and you're doing this. Then
Not even meant. I was saying I was just not mentally prepared for it.
Yeah.
And it felt me like, very, very bad. Cried for almost half an hour, doing nothing. People were eating. And then I just had as a visual of my mom in floods, dad in floods, their misery. It reminded me of the purpose. Why did I come to UK? All I did is I wiped my tears, stood up, went in the kitchen, had something very quickly, and get back on the job. And that half part of the break, I was actually proud to do it. Why? My self-esteem, my ego, and everything was so small when it was connected to the purpose that I had, which was much bigger. तो मैंने मेरे खुद को उस equation से निकाल दिया. My purpose was attached to them. And when your purpose of life is attached to something bigger, for others, your self-esteem, your ego will always come smaller, and will not come in the way of you getting that things done. So that is what I would say taught me of how to get it, how to not let yourself, your ego, or your things come in the way of achieving the bigger thing. As I told you, that the minute you have yourself out of the equation,
Yeah.
you can rise anywhere, anyhow, and as much as you want, because you're always aspiring for something else, for someone else. And जब आपके सुख से दूसरों का सुख बड़ा हो जाता है, you will keep striving harder, you will keep striving more, and nothing will stop you. So that was the main reason, or that was the thing that helped me grew out better. Second, as I told you, learn to say no. But I have a principle in life that if there is a problem, if there's a situation, if there is something which is challenging, I have a affinity to say yes to it and take it
Okay.
on as a challenge.
Okay.
Now it's a paradox that I'm building
Yeah.
here. But as I told you, learn to say no is for the situation, for the issues. But here I'm saying I took on the challenges at those times because I didn't want to have life telling me I don't know this. Even if I didn't knew, I invested to learn. I took it as a challenge and I grew out of that. And that is what, as a chemical engineer, then getting into management, then getting into quality, then becoming into a leadership role, now as a business coach, author, and a speaker, is only because I kept experimenting and creating that journey for me.
So you mean that you have been accepting whatever has been coming your way, the challenges which life throws at you, and you have been at crossroad multiple times, right? I'm sure.
Everybody is at a crossroads. It's just that either you realize and you acknowledge so that you get a reason to celebrate, or you go with the flow and you don't even realize and things keep going in. I chose the path where I took a break, I got myself aware, I reflect, and I enjoy. So if you are on that path, you will be like me where you acknowledge, enjoy, and feel happy about it. If not, life तो चलती ही रहेगी. So crossroads हर एक की जिंदगी में आते हैं. There's not a single human being on this earth who could tell me that they had no crossroads in their life.
Right. So right now also in terms of the shifting technology, entrepreneurs are faced with multiple such crossroads, right? There's AI entering our lives. We are always like feeling, is video editing as a domain going to even exist with the technology already in play? So we are definitely at that crossroads at multiple stages of our life. So when people are in this kind of a situation, how can they essentially aim bigger? You know, how can they actually push themselves? Not everybody will have such a big reason which you are saying, for example, having a purpose which is not connected to themselves, to a larger purpose. Not everybody will have that kind of vision to see beyond. So how can people aspire for that kind of bigger aim in life when they are at such a crossroad?
When you're at crossroads, I would say don't aim for something very big, because problem कहाँ होगा? When you aim for something big, it is very far, it looks huge, it looks big.
Right.
Aim for something which is very short distance, very short. Why? Because the minute you do it, you have an opportunity to celebrate. Get yourself motivated, look at something next, look at something next. So when you're at the crossroads, look at the pros and cons, the options that you have for something that is going to give you immediate relief out of that situation, not
Give
a
me an
shortcut.
example of a business owner who's been in that kind of a situation, or a executive for that matter.
Let me tell you, AI itself, you talked about video editing, you
Yeah.
talked about AI. Very simple example. Yes, AI will take over the video editing. Will it be able to be as creative as you are and me and other people? The answer is yes and no, both, because the creativity will only be fed in the system, which means if the AI is creative up to that level, every single person will have that same level of creativity. So, where is that uniqueness? That will come from the human touch. Number two, what is to be edited? Again, it will be a programmed AI which will, kind of read and reflect from whatever the past experiences that has been fed to the system or available to the system. Or maybe in the future, it might come that it might understand and improvise on its own. But still, empathy, emotions, creativity will still be with the human beings. So, A, if you're at that crossroads right now, start increasing your emotional quotient, start working on your empathy, start working on your compassion, start working on your creativity in such a way that you start leveraging AI to automate the task which might have taken 10 hours for you to edit, but you start investing your thoughts on more creative thinking.
Okay. And how can one do that?
By being aware of what are the things happening in the AI. So, like if you talk about video editing, you guys are the expert. You know what are the AI that can be automated. You know what are the tools that can help you to reduce the repetitive task, and that can be given to AI. So, number one, you're saving your time. Then start investing on how you can add more flavor, more human touch, more creativity, and invest time in thinking that. So, if you're at the crossroads, that's a simple answer. Now, you look at 10 years from now, what will happen? You don't know. And then you start procrastinating. Jab hoga tab dekhenge, we will do it. And that becomes a productivity blocker. I'm saying, look short terms. And now talk about a business owner. Let's say they are having a fear that, 5 years down the line or 5 years before AI and ML started, machine learning came in and people said manpower will be out, this will be done. Nothing happened. What happened? ML has started giving data points which has started empowering, but also improving the maintenance downtime.
Yeah.
The machines are indicating that this is the time for the rings to change, this is the time for the productive maintenance. So actually क्या हो गया?
Yeah.
It changed.
Yeah.
So either you sit back and keep being skeptic, as I told you, a blocker. ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा तब देखेंगे, अभी क्या हो रहा है वो तो देख ले. So when you're at the crossroads, look at the immediate benefits that you're getting, immediate problems that you have, resolve them and move forward.
Great. So we talked a lot about productivity. I heard that one of your other key programs is also building an autonomous work culture. So when you work with organizations, generally you would have seen this tendency of micromanagement. So how do you kind of deal with that, and how do you help organizations and leaders build an autonomous work culture?
That's actually a brilliant question. So, because when you talk about autonomous work culture, it's talking about more of automated processes. Remember, I told you about decentralizing the processes. So, when you are a micromanager, you're nothing but a controller. When you're controlling, you're impacting your decision making, your planning, and your execution. The minute you decentralize, which means you stop micromanaging, you go more into reviewing and governance practice, you're actually building a structure where you're giving autonomy at certain levels by certain processes, and you're filtering out that XYZ decisions these people can take, ABC decisions these people can take. But okay, XYZ, ABC done. But let's say if I have FF, EFG, those are the decisions which will require managerial level or leadership level, is where the decisions will come to me. Apart from that, all these decisions can be done based on this SOP, this process, this systems, and that's autonomous work culture. So productive mindset is a mindset for the leader to have. The autonomous work culture is for the organizations to have. So I start working with the leader, the mindset, and once that is built, it drills down as a culture. So they both are absolutely interrelated.
So that's how your entire, like, the two of the programs are like very, very interrelated, right? So it's essentially the productive mindset and then autonomous work culture. These are the two signature programs you take.
So individual is a mindset, an organization has to have a culture.
Tell us about how LinkedIn as a platform or as a tool is very important for leaders today, or corporate executives, or entrepreneurs for that matter.
I'll not go that far. I'll come very, very simple in a daily life. There was an entrepreneur coming from Dubai to India. Again, a factual story, a real story. Names I'll not take, but I know the person, and if anyone wants to meet, again, I can let them meet. So the person was coming from Dubai to India, specifically in Mumbai. He was looking for a place to rent. Now, because he was in Dubai, he wanted to have same type of lifestyle. So he was kind of looking either in Bandra, Andheri, or the Chani Road side, Worli Sea Face side, or the Pedder Road side, where he was looking at a good place where he could rent it for 3 years, because he was planning to shift here for 3 years. While he was looking at it, the deals were getting closed on the Zoom, and he was trying to do it before he comes here. The person actually looked up on LinkedIn to find if he should say yes to this person to be renting his house. He went on to the profile, the post, the kind of engagement, the mutual connections, and when that person actually came down to Bombay to sign the agreement and everything, the other person confessed that, hey, I checked you up on LinkedIn and I found you that you're a genuine guy and a good leader where I can trust you. Now, that's one simple example on a daily life. Every time you're trying to do business, it might not happen. But 80% of the time, it might happen that people who are trying to come and work for your company, or trying to get you as a vendor on board, or trying to do some business with you, or as an investor, they might look up to you on internet. And the best part is, when people search on Google either your name or your company name or something with related to you, Microsoft pushes LinkedIn link there as a corporate rivalry, and your LinkedIn, if it's not updated, if it's not up to the mark, you actually don't have a point there. You lose out on your branding. And there's a saying that first impression is the last impression. That was pre-social media world, when people
Yeah.
used to meet in person.
Yeah.
Now people are actually meeting virtually first,
Yeah.
and then coming to meet in person. So if I'm losing out my impression on the social world, I'm not able to find that person on Google, I'm not having the right LinkedIn profile, or not having the right things posted here, I may not have the right impression. So we are losing out there. So I always tell that LinkedIn is not about personal branding as such, because the personal branding is actually person's branding. It's not personal branding. It's not something which is personal to you. It's person's branding, or if you may put it as, it's more of your digital reputation. So if you're as much worried about your reputation in the real world, you should also be worried about your impression or reputation on the digital world. And LinkedIn is a platform that helps you to build that. So that's why I always say that, as a leader, try to build your profile in such a way that people start building that relationship, that trust with you, even before meeting you.
Like you said that LinkedIn is a great way and it's a great platform about building that digital reputation. This is just one aspect where, when people are actually looking to um, when they have kind of sorted out what they want to do, essentially they are focusing on the strategic level, and they are working in the right direction on focusing on the right things. So they'll be working on their digital reputation as one of the key areas, because other times you're always firefighting. So that essentially happens. But when you talk about having general productivity mindset in general, it has to nail down to specific habits which one needs to develop, right? So what kind of habits generally you think are very important, have been helpful for you in building the productivity mindset, and in general the kind of people who you have coached, what are the kind of habits which can lead to a productive mindset?
Again, it's not one rule applies for all. Why? Because every human being is different. For some people, some might say, I love morning routine, like waking up at 5 a.m., like we all know about the 5 a.m. club. I'm not a person who wakes up at 5 a.m. You tell me to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm not in. But yes, tell me to wake up at 6 or 7 or whatever it is, I'm in. Similarly, some might have a different routine or different habit. So I would say, don't be a man of habit, because you then are robotic. Rather than that, be a man of principles or be a woman of principles. And what principles they are? That certain things in life are non-negotiable. A, don't judge people, don't judge situations, don't judge yourself. The minute you're judging, you're actually inviting negative thoughts. For example, I'll give you a very, very small example. A father and daughter were sitting on a park. They were enjoying, they played, it was a Sunday. The father took out 2 apples and gave it to the daughter. The daughter happily took both the apples. And the father started thinking, is this my daughter? Is this my upbringing? Did I teach her to be so greedy? How did she pick up both the apples? She didn't even leave one apple for me. Is this really my daughter? Now, he was judging, and he was already on in his own world of judgment. While the daughter on the other side was looking at both the apples, took one bite from here, took other bite from here, and was tasting both. And she actually, after a minute, she said, Dad, and the dad was lost. She again said, Dad, and then she said that this one is more crunchier and juicier than the way you like, and this is more filled and less juicy the way I like. So this is for you. I actually wanted to test and give you the best. Wow. Now imagine the state of the father. He went on to the world of judging her daughter. Here, he had a chance to realize the judgment, and then he goes back. How can I be so mean? How did I judge my daughter? But life does not always give you this opportunity where you clarify with others of what happened. Sometimes we just judge people, the situation goes, and the person goes away, or we fight with our spouses on certain small things, assuming and judging that they've done this because of this. And when we get that opportunity and the clarification happens, the result is you feel guilty. So that's one thing. Don't judge yourself, others, and the situation. Let's say if you want to judge, there's a problem. So rather than finding negative things in the judgment, try and find what is positive. Like we were discussing about your own practical thing, that you had moved out and delegated a task to your team for more than 3 years now. And now there's a situation which has given you an opportunity to again take the task for a week because the team has gone for a holiday in Diwali vacation and so on and so forth. You can judge saying, oh my God, I have to do that again? Or has he taken holidays because of the work pressure? Oh, he's doing it purposely. You judge, or you take it as an opportunity. Awesome, I'm getting these 5 days to brush up my knowledge again, and I'm getting to get into the zone again. Choice is yours. Kaam to karna hi hai. So that's one, don't judge. Next is learn to say no. That's the habit, because that will give you a lot of time, lot of space for yourself. And the third is stop micromanaging, start delegating. So these are the few handful tricks and things that I give people, which actually helps them to ease out on 80% of their life. Now you might say these are so simple, Sagar, and that's the job of a coach, that I can actually complicate and give you big names, big frameworks, which might appear as jargons, and you might feel, wow, this guy speaks awesome. How much of that do you understand? Nothing. My job is to simplify it to such a level that a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old can understand and start implementing. That is when I've made progress. So it's as simple as that. Don't judge, learn to say no, and you kind of start living a life and approaching it where you try and find good in everything, positive in everything, and see how things change for you.
So it's not more much about habits, it's more about what values you have, and what you do, does it really align with your values or not, and then it actually leads to that fulfillment which you are seeking,
Absolutely.
right? We were just talking about LinkedIn, and there's a lot of buzz about 70-hour work week, work life balance, all of these jargons. What thought process do you have around work life balance, being a productivity explorer, a coach in productivity?
I don't have any perspective. I'll give you a visualization, right? So maybe you can experience it, and right now you can just close your eyes and visualize a juggler in front of you. In one hand he has work, and in the other hand he has life, and he's juggling. What do you see goes in the mind of the person who is juggling it?
One or the other.
One or the other, which means you're visualizing him with 100% focus. He's trying to balance. Number one, balance नहीं हो रहा है, एक ऊपर जा रहा है, एक नीचे आ रहा है. So number one, work life balance is a myth, proven, because an engineer हूँ तो accept.
दोनों साथ में कभी नहीं होगा.
तो balance तो नहीं होगा. Right? So
कभी ये ज़्यादा, कभी ये कम है.
Lovely. So first myth busted कि work life balance is a myth. What does it give you? One is up. You're actually in a lot of stress. Will I be able to hold it back? Will I be able to catch it back? The one that is in your hand, you have a guilt कि यार इसको पहले क्यों नहीं पकड़ा? I have lost the grip. And if it falls down, again you have a regret and a guilt, which means there are 3 things that a juggler is facing. Super focus, which will cause him to drain after the act. Burnout, because he's doing that motion. Third, regret and guilt. Now imagine if you're doing that for your whole life. The juggler is doing it as an act, and still he gets drained out after the act, that done yaar, let's put this down. You do it only, I mean not you, as in we all do it till the time we live, till the time we die. Just visualizing it makes you feel how tiring it would be. So number one, the concept itself of work-life balance is wrong, because it will give you stress, anxiety, burnout, super focused, which will cause you drain out, stress, and regret and guilt. Instead, what if you live an integrated life where you integrate the work and life, which is already happening with all of us with the smartphones, you're no longer away from your work. Have a integration between the work and the life where you start prioritizing whatever is there. So instead of thinking of balancing, you're integrating everything. You're accepting and you're finding options, ways, delegations to ensure that you enjoy whatever you want as a me time, as your time, as family time. At the same time, you're not compromising on the quality and the work that you want to do for your own growth and for your organizational growth. That way, you don't have guilt at all. A simple example is you go on a holiday, you think about work, you check messages on work. Why? And when you're on work, you're planning a holiday. So, in both ways, you're having a guilt. Instead of that, integrate it. While you're on a holiday, tell your family that this 1 hour, I will be away doing this thing, and tell your team that this is the hour that I'm available for you to take all your decisions or to do all the decisions work. And after that, I'm with family again. People will respect that because you've been open and you've been coordinating with that. Initially, it might feel a little odd to do because you've not been doing it for like 20, 30 years. To do it in one day, not possible, not humanly possible. Start slow. Go on the first vacation, or when you're doing it for the first time, try doing it. But don't be hard and fast when people call you. Tell them, hey, thank you for calling, but I'm available between 2 to 4. Let's do it at that time, because 2 to 4 maybe your kids sleep, it's afternoon time, your wife sleeps, your family is sleeping and not doing anything. Have that time. So you identify those zones, and that will help you learn that work-life balance is a myth and how you were focused not to leave anything down, but at the same time getting stress and anxiety. Instead of that, live integrated life. That's a better way to live. And accepting the fact that work and life are not two separate entities. Work and life make you who you are. Isn't that absolutely a beautiful concept to live with?
Definitely, definitely. I'm loving this concept which you are telling, and kind of got into that mode of visualizing how what it would be like to move from a juggler mode to a integrated life kind of a mode. That's where a productivity coach kind of comes into the picture, right? So essentially, when you kind of coach people on productivity, is it about making their work week? For example, there are books on 4-day work week, or putting things on autopilot, or XYZ. Is there a claim, or is there a standard definition that move from a juggler to this? Is what you kind of help them visualize, that working with a productivity coach is like fill in the blanks for me. Working with the productivity coach is
I
like,
don't give them a declared thing because every human being is different.
yeah,
Everyone has a different need. As a coach, my job is to identify that need,
okay,
identify where there is a gap, work with them to create that self reflection for them, and then work on the fulfillment that they are looking for. Because if you look at a hand, not any finger is same. So I tell myself that all my clients are different. Everyone has a different need. And rather than having a structured, standard, rigid framework, which again is robotic, why not work with individuals with the concept of productive mindset? So rather than having a framework which is rigid, I'm saying a concept is here. Use the concept the way you want and twist the concept the way you want. The end goal is having fulfillment. The end goal is having fun. The end goal is not to have stress, anxiety, and burnout. That's the end goal. How? We will find a way together.
Time as a concept has been, it's been written, thousands of books has been written about productivity. Is that a problem which is because of the digital devices? Is it something which is about the Gen Z, or it's about the millennials? Where what is the thought process about the need of productivity? Is it mostly for the millennials, or is mostly for the people who are already established in business and reached a certain stage?
I wouldn't define it with age. I wouldn't define it with a group of people. I wouldn't define it with a male or a female or any other gender. For people who have multiple genders, I don't want to be, skeptic about it. I would say productivity started with machines in the 17th and the 18th century. Talked about machine productivity. Slowly we started introducing systems and processes with the Ford assembly line and other stuff, where human beings were compelled, or human beings were expected to comply with the processes and systems. Slowly that also got developed, and then human beings were the part of the system, and that is where the problem started, that the machine productivity got aligned and loaded onto human beings, making them machines. And that is where you started experiencing that anxiety, that stress, that the race and other stuff. And that is where I'm breaking this chain, that yes, productivity is important, but not with the cost of a human life. So be productive, that's one part, but have a productive mindset. That is where you come and separate yourself as a human being. So that's where I use my mantra, that stop being a robot, be a human again. Right? So, and it is not impacted that only an entrepreneur, only a student, or a housewife, or XYZ needs to be productive. Everyone will have their areas to be productive with the productive mindset, so that they don't get that stress of running that race. Because let's say if I'm having a race, a simple race, that I want to buy a car. So let's say I start with the lowest one, which is Maruti, then go up to Tata, then Hyundai, then Land Rover, then Mercedes, then BMW, then Rolls-Royce. Now, does it end there? No. Then you will have Lamborghini and many more. Does it end there? No. Then it will start with gold-plated, then diamond-studded. Does it end there? Where does it end? It does not end. So, are you going to run the race for the whole life and that get exhausted? Or you enjoy those moments and live that life beautifully rather than running that race? The choice is yours. So you have a race, I don't mind, but have a race to achieve fulfillment faster by giving back to the society, having gratitude, taking that moment that we told about the plant and that bud, realizing those small moments in life and connecting yourself with those moments. Give yourself that time, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So I'm sure you have multiple tips for avoiding stress, burnout, working with so many people, although it's a very, very customized journey which you plan with the people. But I'm going to ask you maybe 2 or 3 quick popcorn style questions around these. Um, 3 productive habits for an entrepreneur.
A, delegate. B, learn to say no. And third one, as a bonus, is ensure that you take your decisions quickly. If you're not able to take a quick decisions, delegate it to someone who has the ability to take this decision.
So, how to avoid 3 tips on how to avoid distraction and be productive, digital distraction, so to say.
I would rather give only one tip, but that's very powerful, because giving three, again, people have to remember.
Yeah.
My job is to simplify. Number one tip is 90 minutes during the day, whenever you're working, not sleeping, not doing anything else, but 90 minutes during your work time, switch off your phone, switch off your phone. And if you can't switch off, the second best option is put it on silent and keep it out of your work area. Either you put it in your bag or your cupboard or any other area which is further away from you. Turn down your internet on your desktop so there is no notification, and focus on the work that is at hand. You will be completing 4 hours of work in that 90 minutes, and that's a challenge to everyone. You can't do it in one day 90 minutes. Start with 10, go to 30, go to 40 and do it. 90 minutes will help you to be productive for 4 hours of work time. And in that 90 minutes, you can afford to take a break if you think, but not more than one. So maybe you can divide 40 and 40, take a 10-minute break. That's good enough. But that break is not for TV, computer or your phone. That break is just to walk, have a water, use the bio break and just fill in anything that you want, but not to eat or do anything else. Just a bio break, fill in water, get refreshed and get back on the job. That's the only thing that will make you super productive.
Wow, that's great. So that's more like deep work, right? You are deeply great. And 3 tips for living a life of fulfillment.
Stick with your core values, learn to say no again. And third, don't judge people, situations, and yourself. It's not always good to judge, because when you're judging, you're actually going through a negative emotion.
Yeah.
Don't judge.
Beautiful. Wow. So that was a very, very fulfilling session. Sagar, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
joining us on the show today. Led me into introspection, led me into thinking so many things about how one can easily celebrate and imbibe these powerful lessons and lead a fulfilling life. So thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much, and it was absolutely a lot of engaging and insightful conversations, because you kind of asked powerful questions that led me to give those key nuggets, and you actually आपने सागर मंथन करके वो पूरा अच्छे अच्छे pearls and details निकलवाए where it were hidden inside me, and I could actually give it back as a a guest on the podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great having you. I hope you liked this episode. If you like the video, hit the like button and share it with your fellow entrepreneur friends. For more such insightful conversations with entrepreneurs and SME enablers, subscribe to this channel. Stay tuned for more content. Until then, keep the momentum going.